We got a lot in store today. And honestly, I just want to go ahead and Hank, if you're cool with it, can we just hop right into it? Because I think this is something that is powerful, but also a lot of people need to hear this out. Need
Well,
to understand what's
yeah,
going on.
yeah, but I might be all over the place because my mind is has been racing for the last couple weeks. And they say, well, so big deal. Well, I think all of us as human beings who are in motion are constantly having some aspects of mental gymnastics. We are sometimes we're dealing with rubber balls,
Mm.
and sometimes we're dealing with glass balls, and sometimes we're just sitting back and watching someone juggle. um I've been reflective. I don't know the reason why. I just know that I have been, and let's see if I can sort of kind of help to distill my frame of mind.
Okay.
I've been out of college for ever. I graduated from college in 69, and I had some friends in college that I had not talked to, have not seen since 1969. And about 2 months ago, a couple of them reached out to me, and I was flabbergasted because when I was in college, I knew them, but I didn't have a relationship per se with them. I just knew them. We were freshmen in college, we were seniors in college, and we went our separate ways. And they started to tell me about something that they remembered about me as an individual. Now, for those who have listened, I came from a poor background, lived in the country without utilities, without electricity, without anything, no sidewalks, no paved streets, two-room shanty, yada 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 yada. Had no mentors. The first person in my community to go to college, not just my family, in my community to go to college, and wouldn't have gone to college but for the grace of God, someone saying, "Hey, you seem to be a pretty smart guy. Have you filled out applications?" All right, so that's a long story. So what I'm saying is, sometimes if we know better, we'll do better. But if all we know is all we know, then we will just do what we know. And unless someone presents us with ideas or examples, we will always do what we've always done. Thus, we'll always get what we've always gotten. So people open doors for me. They encouraged me and said, "Try this." And I had doubt, I had self-doubt, I had fear, I had a lack of belief, but do this. And blindly I followed. And here I stand today, an example of all of those contradictions. I stand here sometimes amazed when people recognize an ability or an attitude. I'm amazed. Why? Because it goes back to the beginning where I was teased, I was laughed at, ostracized, and a lot of other things that happen when you're not part of the in crowd. Um, so, Leland, I just say that to say we have the opportunity to help people to change lives each and every day, and not just change their lives, change the lives of people that they come in contact with through actions, through attitudes, through associations, through a multitude of things that we don't consider, we just do. You and I were talking a couple minutes ago, and we were talking about an individual who is part of the program. has paid, who is part of the program, and that individual is having a problem, an issue seeing the program. And as you and I were talking, I said she reached out to me and we were talking, and you said the only thing that she needed to do was what?
Just log out and log back in.
Now, see, that's powerful. That's powerful for me. And because there are those of us who are so determined, so narrow minded, so arrogant, so egotistical, so stubborn that they don't log out and log back in.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to step back from whatever it is that's happening to be able to move past what the challenge was.
It's funny. So it's funny, but it's not funny, right? At the same time, because there are a lot of people, like we've all done it, where we've all made a mistake where something doesn't go the way that we want, and we're really eager to blame
Mm, mm.
any and everything else.
And people.
And oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
people.
Okay.
And then we begin to realize that, oh wow, the reason that something didn't work is because I didn't. Period. Like not
Mhm, mhm.
just the reason something didn't work is because I didn't.
Leland.
So just
Go ahead,
FYI,
sir.
just FYI. So just kind of this is something totally different. So on the weekends, I volunteer for this organization where I help them with just some media stuff, and I volunteer. It's a lot of us volunteer. So anyway, the team that I'm a part of, they're also volunteers, and I had made a video for the team of a step by step on how to do some of the things that I was doing. Because some of them asked like, "Oh, how are you able to do that?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll make a video that shows you exactly how to do it." So this
Powerful.
team, everyone is an adult, by the way. So this team, one of the team members says, "Hey, um, I don't understand how you're able to do something so well because if I would have tried to do that, uh, it wouldn't have worked out." Now, first off, this person didn't try.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
They decided on their own, based on their own beliefs, what the result would be before they even took action. That's the first.
Mm, mm,
And what's so funny is like people
mhm.
don't realize that they talk against themselves a lot. All right. But I let her finish. And I just said, well, were you able to watch the video that I made that goes step by step? And she says,
No,
no, I didn't watch the video.
because she didn't think it would work. But I'm sorry. I'm
Exactly. And that's the crazy thing. So a lot of times
oh,
people
God.
do things where like internally
Mhm.
the reason you really didn't take action is because you didn't believe that it would work. She made a comment later on as we're, in our dialogue, and
Uh-huh.
she says, well, I don't understand um how I don't understand how you do this so well. I said, well, have you tried it yet? She said, well, I've tried. Well, she's telling me all the things she's tried in the past, but she hasn't tried what I told her to do.
Mm,
Right.
mm, mm.
So
Mhm.
I sit beside her, or I stand beside her, and so she's doing it on her phone, and she says, "Oh wow, I didn't know that it was so easy to do on your phone." And I wanted to say, yeah. Do you think that technology has a affinity towards Leland Baptist and not to you?
Mm,
That's not
mm,
it.
mm.
If I choose to do more things with technology, yeah, it'll come easier, but I have to choose to want to do those things with technology. If you're not wanting to at least try and do something different, well then absolutely you're not going to get what you want. Like it would be disrespectful of me to walk up to Steph Curry and say, this basketball thing that that you be doing, that's how people talk, by the way. This thing that you be doing, oh, click clap between the legs, oh, just throwing it up in the air, that don't work. Because if I try it, it's like pause. Basketball in itself does work.
Mm-hmm.
Now he chose to spend hours on hours of thousands of hours to perfect that little in between thing between legs that he quote unquote does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ridiculous that someone else would have the arrogance to think that they can get off their couch,
Mm-hmm.
uh, keep on their slippers in their robe, walk down to the nearest arena of NBA, whatever, and in their mind, because Steph Curry makes it look so effortless,
Mm-hmm.
that for that person to believe that they're going to get the exact same results with not even an ounce of the same talent, commitment, and consistency that he chose to invest. And all I'm gonna say is this: like, what is wrong with adults? What's wrong with us as adults to where we, as a collective, think that we should be able to receive a maximum payout with
Mm-hmm.
the
Minimal effort.
minimum effort. Like for some reason, as adult, like my children, my toddlers understand that addition works by you having an input of something.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, adults, individuals, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old, however, right? For
Mm-hmm.
some reason, as adults, we have this idea, this grandiose idea that we can invest a penny, but receive $200 million. It's like we haven't put forth the effort. Like another example. This is talking to someone else. I said, well, they're like, well, I have a property under contract. I'm like, that's fantastic. That's great, right? And they said, yeah, but I'm having a hard time finding a buyer for the property. I said, well, why? I said, well, why is that? Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, step two that we talk about is find your buyers. Is it
Before,
first, Hank, or last?
before, first,
Before. It's first, right?
first,
Find
yes.
your find your buyers first.
And you said buyers, not buyer.
Come on. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay. So I'm listening, and it hits me like, oh my gosh, this adult chose to say, you know what? I see that Hank took time to make this into a 10-step process. But what I'm going to do is someone who has never done it before, by the way.
Shortcuts.
Right. This is so crazy, right? It's like someone who's done it before gives me a roadmap of steps 1 through 10. But I have never done it before. And I look at steps 1 through 10 and I decide, okay, I'm gonna take step 1. But after step 1, I'm gonna go to step 4. And then at that point, I think, yeah. I should be able to go to step 10. It's like, but the steps are there because they build on one after the other. It's like it's bizarre. And when you finally find out, like, hey, well, what made you want to skip? Because I'm always interested to understand, like, or get an idea of like sometimes why do people do what they do. Like, hey, so we have steps 1 through 10, but what made you want to skip steps 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 and 9 and
They
just go
didn't
to
think it was. Yeah, they didn't think it was necessary.
they didn't they, they didn't they didn't think it was necessary, which would be the equivalent, Hank, as someone who's building, for example, a hotel or even a house, for someone to say water lines. I mean, that why would that be important? I just figured that we would just build the walls and add a roof.
Hmm.
Basement? Phew, who needs the square footage? I mean, that's kind of silly. It's like, what is going on here? So you talk to them, you say it's not necessary.
Hmm.
But then you say, well, listen, man, the reason that the car can't drive on the bridge is because the bridge is missing section 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Bye.
So there's nothing holding up the bridge.
Oh
And you're
man.
like, oh, I didn't think that I didn't think that it was necessary. It's like, okay. But what it ultimately boils down to is that they didn't believe
Hmm.
that they would even be able to get to step 10.
Or, if I may,
Yes,
or
sir.
there are those who look at you and look at me, size us up, and immediately put themselves in a higher mental, physical, emotional, financial status than we.
Right, with
And they
ignorance.
go, well, it ain't nothing. Man, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So then they go the easy street method.
Uh-oh.
And then because the easy street method doesn't work, then they come back and say your method doesn't work because they did easy. I tried that and it didn't work.
It's like, my
Leland,
my goodness.
Leland, last week I was ear hustling. You know what ear hustling is?
Oh, absolutely. I did it last week as well downtown.
Okay. I was working in the office. The TV was on, and there was this little girl who was harassed and or arrested
Hmm.
because someone thought she was doing something illegal, and she had found a bug or an insect or something that hadn't been seen or just had not been seen in the US for years. And I think she was either invited to Harvard or to Yale to proclaim how her accomplishment. And I'm going like, wow, that's interesting. I think she was on one of the talk shows and all this other stuff and yada yada yada. It's amazing. A little one. I think it's less than 10.
Wow.
So I'm going like, okay, and I'm sitting back and I'm going like, it's fascinating. And
That is.
again, the imagination of kids, right? This morning, I'm having my coffee. Handyman's supposed to come by, but he let me know he wasn't coming. So I said, okay, I can have a second coffee. So I'm having a cup of coffee.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
this morning, there's a 9-year-old kid young guy who graduated from high school. He's ready to getting ready to go to college, and he wants to be an astrophysicist. Now, hang on, people. I hope y'all get this. A 9-year-old about to go to college. And some of y'all listen to this feel that college is not important. And the point I'm trying to make is that there are certain skill sets, certain knowledge that you need to acquire from some other outside source. Mom and dad didn't have it. Mine didn't. Friends I grew up with didn't.
Right.
Okay. And along the way, somebody saw something and said, hey, give this a shot. Well, I'm naive. I gave it a what, Leland?
You gave it a shot. But look,
I,
can I say something real quick, Hank, about you
please
giving it a
help
shot?
me out. Help me out, bro.
And I believe this ties into what earlier, obviously. But when you talk to people about why, like, hey, why didn't you do what you were told to do?
Mm,
And I used to think that it meant that they didn't think that it would work. But I'm now finding out that that's actually not what it is.
really?
Nope, it's not. And I want people to listen closely to what I'm about to say. The true reason that a person does not do what they know that they should do is because they don't believe that they deserve, that they're worthy of the end result. I'm gonna give everyone an example real quick. If you wanted to lose weight, everyone knows if you want to lose weight, you need to eat less calories and you need to be more active. Period. It does not mean that you have to go on a particular diet. It does not mean that you have to have a particular exercise regimen. It just means you need to move more and you need to consume less. Now, how is it, Hank, that you could a person could move more and eat less on their own, right? They
Mm-hmm.
don't have to like that's something you could do on on your regular day.
Mm-hmm.
But the exercise industry is a multi-billion,
Billion.
billion,
Mm-hmm.
multi-billion dollar industry.
Sure
But
it
why?
is.
Because they understand how to market, how to speak to people who feel as though underlining that they really don't deserve
Mm.
that physique that they claim that they want. So then what is advertised to them is the easy button. What is advertised to them is the hidden regimen, the hidden push up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this will make doing push-ups so much easier. But guess what? Guess what? In order for the push-up machine to work, which I have one at home, in order for that push-up machine to actually work, what do you have to do? You got to work it.
You got to get on it, bro.
You got to get on it.
You got to
Like
get it.
like
How often?
treadmills,
How
treadmills
often?
exactly. Treadmills in themselves are fantastic tools.
Oh man.
Many people have access to a treadmill. Many people have treadmills in their homes. Many people have made the investment for the treadmill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So is it the treadmill's fault that one does not lose weight?
I know it's your bad habits.
It's your habits, but your habits maketh man.
Mm-hmm.
But if my identity, so like the habits that you have are a reflection of the
Mm.
person that you are.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
But if you're not happy with the person that you are, then I need to figure out first off what manner of person do I want to be? That's like a big question that people like never answer. It is crazy how many people like never answer that question for themselves. Like no one like how many people can be honest and say, you know what? I sat down and I thought about the not who I am. I thought about who I am meant to be. And I said to myself, like, what is it that I really want to be? And now, how does that person actually act? Because we're not human wanting, like we all want things. We're not human wanters. Is that right? We're human beings. We're not human wanters or human beings. So if you're telling me that
Mm. Mm. Mm.
you're all about getting passive income. I spoke to someone earlier, fantastic lady, and she mentioned passive income. Then that would mean that the identity of the person that has accumulated to this very moment, there are certain things that led to that. Well, we
Mm-hmm.
got to change that. Well, and technically, the only way we can change that is, but we have to identify something different. Period. So the question is, what are those habits of that successful person?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And if you look at it, I think Tom Brady he chose to retire again. I guess he's
Third time, but yeah, for
third time.
good. For
Oh,
good.
okay, sure. After it ruined his marriage, but anyway, so Tom Brady retires, and good job for him, by the way. Um, but Tom Brady, he's going to earn more money
After.
after
After. Mm-hmm.
after. Tom Brady's going to earn more money after. Tom
Let
Brady's
me.
going to earn a half a billion dollars in a third of the time that it took him to do that for his entire NFL career, with less wear and tear on his body.
He's going to be now using his brain. his rather than his lack of physicality,
Yeah, because
because
he wasn't very athletic.
because he's not. And Lila, you said something, and it caused me a slight pause, because again, I can only go by what I know. I think, I know that if you ask most people, most adults, who are you, they will tell you what they do.
They will.
Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
So there are people who want, you say, well, what do you want? What do you want? Okay? What do you want? They'll start to talk about things maybe in monetary terms, or what have you. I used to do that, and then at some point in time, where do you find this equilibrium, this balance that causes you to think, act, and be different?
B.
Okay, because as long as we are afraid and we are comparing and we're jealous and we're envious, okay, as long as we are putting people down rather than lifting them up, pushing people away rather than bringing them in close and creating bonds and relationships. Because you were talking to Tom Brady, people respected him on the feet, on the pitch, on the football field, but more people outside of football respected him. And because he was, even with his faults, he was a decent guy.
Yeah.
He will make the big bucks because he's a decent guy, not because he was a great athlete. Because we know great people, and
Herschel Walker,
poof,
right?
and they're gone. Never to
Herschel
be
Walker,
heard.
right? He's a Hall of Famer.
Don't do that to me.
I'm just joking. I'm trying to push your button. I'm push your button.
don't
I'm
don't
trying-
do that. Don't do that to me.
But all jokes aside, he's a Hall of Famer?
Of course he is.
Absolutely, and rightfully so.
Absolutely.
But sometimes, how would you say, Hank, that success in one arena doesn't necessarily transfer to the other?
But again, it goes, okay. I know we're going on. It has to do with character.
Okay,
What
so
manner of man is this?
This.
And that's what I look at all the time. It's like, wow, you and I were talking. I told you I've been reflective,
yeah,
because people that I knew in college have reached out. They found me. Technology. I don't like technology, but I can't do anything about technology but use it.
okay,
So because of those guys, and I know we're running short, because of those guys, as I said, I've been reflective. I've been reflective. And I said to my daughter was saying something, Dad, this, that, and this was just Sunday. Leland, Sunday.
yeah,
And she was saying something about, have I talked to these guys, black, this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 this, that, and the other, and I said, honey, I was sitting back and I was thinking, and I said, I've been looking for this book that I have. I can't find it. I said, I mean, it's an important book. I just can't find it. She said, well, what's the title of? What's the name of it? I said, it's called Students Among American Colleges and Universities. Who's Who Among Students in American Colleges and Universities? She said, well, Dad, why are you interested in that book? I said, well, honey, I think in the 1967-68 version of that book, I'm in there. Please, it's been 50 freaking years, y'all. And she said, Dad, you're kidding. I said, no, honey, I'm in there somewhere. She said, how did you get in there? I said, honey, I don't know. I think I did the right thing. And somebody saw enough to put me in the freaking book. Which says to me that if you allow them, people will come alongside you. People will sort of push you along, nudge you along. If not physically, they'll do it mentally, emotionally, and they will continue to encourage. And she goes, Dad, I didn't know that about you. And I said, honey, there's a lot that you don't know about me. It takes circumstances, situations, conversation to bring it out. Why do I say all of that? Because I was telling you that, and you said to me, who are your words to me? We have what?
We have that in common.
We have something else in common. Now, it's not something that comes up in general conversation, in normal conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the significance of it. I still don't understand the significance of it, but obviously it was impactful enough for me to think about it and try to find the book to put with my memories and memoirs because my family wants me to write a book.
But okay, so here's an so
Mm,
here's
mhm.
why that is so good. I was looking at a video on TikTok, and I shouldn't be been on TikTok, but it sucked in like 5 minutes of my day. And I'm gonna say this: someone is gonna get in. Some people are gonna be
Say
very
it.
upset. But no.
Say
I'm
it.
just setting the stage. I'm gonna say it anyway.
Say it,
But
man.
so this guy has a video and he says, "Oh, so anyway, I wanted to show the same thing." But so this guy
Oh,
has a
you have yours at hand?
I have my
That's
book.
okay. That's okay.
I have my book, and I also have the award from the state of Colorado as well for it. But so anyway, so long story short, this guy says, look, he said pigeons are like black people, and the guy was like, what are you talking about, right? And so before I get into that part, I'm gonna say this. Right now in the economy, you have a lot of news outlets that are telling people loom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this before that there are three types of economies. There are three types of economies. You can only control one of the three. There's what we call a macro economy. A macro economy could be a global economy, or it could be the economy of like the nation. So the United States has what's called a GDP, and economics deals with a GDP, gross domestic product, that's a good income for a country. But then you have what's called microeconomics, which deals with either a state, a city, or a county. Okay, microeconomics. That's where you hear things like the Atlanta MSA. It stands for Metro Statistical Area, right? That's how the government looks at a particular area in that micro economy. But then you have what's called your personal economy, your home economy. That is what goes on in your home and as you as a person. And the only one, out of the three, you're going to control one, and that one economy you can control is your own personal economy.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. So regardless of what you are told externally from the news or from anyone else, you
Mm-hmm.
have to make it. You have to make a conscious decision to control your personal economy. And if you do such a good job at controlling your personal economy,
Hallelujah.
it will then begin to spill over into the microeconomy and then into the macro economy as a whole. But you have to do that first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, getting back to the pigeons and black people, this is what the guy says. He says, yeah, pigeons are. He's like, pigeons are basically flying rats, and that's how everyone treats them. That's how everyone views them, and that's also how they act.
A nuisance. Mm-hmm.
He says pigeons act like a nuisance. He's like they're he said they're ugly, they're this, that, and that. All right. So the guy was like, okay. But by the way, you guys know what TikTok is. So the guy and the other guy who's talking is the same person, right? So well, what do you mean? And he says, well, in World War I and World War II, the most sacred or secure form of communication was through homing pigeons or carrier pigeons.
Mm-hmm.
So Britain would primarily communicate not by using the telegrams, not by using whatever else, whatever form of electronic communication. They would use communication by pigeon carry. All right. And that was a secure form of communication because people just didn't suspect the pigeons, of all things, to have such encrypted and they weren't even suspecting the pigeons, period. Okay. in World War One, World War Two. So he says, in many cases, between World War One and World War Two, Britain alone gave over 26 gold medal of honors to pigeons. To pigeons. Okay. So he's like, all right, okay, big deal. So he says, when Britain's economy was tilting, they used the resources and the people of Caribbean of the Caribbeans.
Mm-hmm.
They took the people and imported them into Britain, and that along with the resources boosted and stabilized the Britain economy. He says, but now you see these same people and their descendants who live in Britain, and
Mm-hmm.
you treat them like dirty, disgusting rats.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Mm-hmm.
said, if only the pigeons knew that within their actual DNA is the greatness of people who or pigeons, right? The greatness of uh, the feathered friends or family members who
Ancestors.
and ancestors who are gold medal honored throughout Europe. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, because they don't know that, they act like filthy flying rats.
Wow.
And I'm gonna tie this in real quick, Hank, to what you mentioned.
Woo.
Sometimes through circumstance, we forget how powerful we are. Sometimes through circumstance, we have to have others remind us of the quote unquote heyday. Have to remind us of when we were that gold medal honored individual. And sometimes we also can lose our identity, just like a person could lose their Who's Who book. You know what? I forgot. I forgot that I did that. Matter of fact, yeah, that, that person is actually me. But the issue is
Mm, mm, mm,
something happened, circumstance happened, moving happened, life happened, where it caused one to forget
mm, mm,
who
mm.
they truly are. In this economy today, you cannot afford, everyone, please listen closely. In this economy today, you cannot afford to forget who you really are. Do not allow external influencers, really, and specifically the media, to try to have you adopt a different identity than who or what you're actually meant to be. If you
Amen.
know without a fact that you are meant to be prosperous, wealthy, you're meant to actually break generational curses, you need to remind yourself of that identity, number one. And then you need to say to yourself, well, this is how I identify. Now, what are the habits of that individual, that being, that manner of person that
Mm-hmm.
does those things? Because even in what people consider to be a down economy, there are people who are networking with others. There are people putting together deals as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
There are people problem solving. There are people collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is when a person begins to view themselves in a low circumstance, like a pigeon, they begin to eat off the ground. And as you're eating and clucking at the ground, you're looking at the ground, and that is your perspective on life.
Mm,
When
mm, mm.
instead, you should be looking up. Michael Jordan says that basketball is 90% mental. Oprah Winfrey said that business is 90% mental. Steve
Who, you,
Jobs said that business was 90% mental.
who you gonna believe?
So the question is, who are you going to believe?
That's it.
You could believe, if you don't want to believe me, then I guess you also don't want to believe Steve Jobs, Oprah, and Michael Jordan. So at some point, you have to choose what is it that you really want to identify with.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason, if someone who has already accomplished what you want to accomplish, and they said, "Hey, I need you to go down the street and make a left." The only reason that you would not go down the street and make a left is because internally, deep down inside, you truly do not feel deserving of the
Ah,
end result. That is the only reason you would not do that.
mm. That's called fear of success.
Fear, absolutely. Like for example, Hank, when people for example, when people instructed you to do something, whether or not you thought it would work, you did it without thinking too much into it.
Hmm.
Like you did it without wanting to sabotage yourself for it not to work. A lot of us, like when you feel as though you're not deserving of something, your actions are will become what's called a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Prophecy. Hmm.
So if you feel as though and you believe deeply that you are not deserving of that success, in the back of your mind, you're going to take all the actions, or you're going to take the inaction
Hmm.
to fulfill that prophecy in yourself.
Man, you've been doing some stuff that's causing some mental gymnastics here. Leland, there are people who have so much self-doubt, who don't have belief in their own abilities, that are reluctant and do not trust the process and or the system, and constantly point fingers at somebody else for their woefulness. I didn't know better, so I did what people told me. My Miss Brown in elementary school, Mr. Fitzgerald in high school, you know, Principal Hosley in high school, Dean Jackson in college, Colonel Snell in ROTC in college. You know, I can name people that had an impact in my life because they said, "You are better than your circumstances. You should try this." And without thinking, I had absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. Was I always successful? No, because I was carrying baggage with me at every encounter. We all got baggage,
Mhm.
all of us. And at every opportunity upon success, the baggage I carried got lighter and lighter. Now, it may have been the same size,
That's
but the
right.
contents, but the contents were smaller, not as
No, no, no,
heavy.
no, no. I'm gonna take a step further. The load of the baggage never changed. You change, or as if we were doing a physical
Ah.
thing, your muscles grew, your shoulders got broader.
Endurance.
And here's the
That's
thing,
it. That's
like
it.
when I talk to people and they're like, there's a gentleman right now. I mean, God bless his soul. I mean, um, look, there's never a right time. Like you'd be surprised how many people will say, "I want X in my life, but for me to pursue that right now, it's just not the right time."
It's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's an illusion because when you really need it, it will be too late. And I'm gonna give an example. Just a quick example. Imagine, imagine if you pay. Imagine if someone. All right, this is a real story, by the way. All right, I'm gonna just say Mary. Mary goes to the doctor, and her doctor tells her like, "Hey, listen, we ran your blood, we ran your blood sugar, we did your vitals and your physical, and it appears that you are 15 pounds overweight. Not a big issue, but we definitely want you to exercise more to get your blood sugar down or get your blood pressure down." And Mary's like, "Cool, I can do that." So Mary goes some time, and she knows that she should be doing those things, but it's not like pressing, it's not fully killing her. So she continues on with her day. Months go by, and as she's driving back and forth to work, she's having the pressures that she always deals with work. And in her back of her mind, she's like, "Man, you know what? This work stuff is crazy, but I really should focus on getting my blood pressure down. I mean, that's like, that is important." Day goes on. She cooks dinner for the family. She's doing things. Weekends go on. Birthdays come and go. Holidays come and go.
mm, mm,
And she decides all of a sudden to get a personal trainer at the gym. It's a brand new year. It's January. So she's like, you know what? My doctor said I should do it, last year, but hey, new year, new me. I'm gonna go ahead and do this anyway. So she pays this money to invest into a physical coach. But she continues to go along with her life as normal. She never attends any of the coaching sessions. Her coach calls her and says, "Hey, Mary, do you still want to go ahead and stick to our Monday morning exercising?" And she said, "Heck no, I can't do that. My schedule's just too busy right now. I can't really fit that into my schedule. Maybe we can focus on that. Maybe close to the end of the year." So the coach is like, "Okay, I can't make you do anything that you don't want to do. So that's fine, Mary. So May rolls around and Mary has a stroke. Something happened at work. She got overstressed. She was overstressed. Her high blood pressure led to a few other things, and she ended up having a stroke. Now Mary wants to exercise, but she physically can't. Now Mary wants to schedule her time, but she's laid up in a hospital bed, so she really can't do anything else but watch TV. What I'm getting at is this: too often we try to put off things for a better opportune time,
mm, mm.
not realizing that the reason that opportunity came was to protect you from future trauma. For example, you know that you should be doing something different, something outside of your job to earn a side income.
Mm-hmm.
You've had something telling you in the back of your mind, girl, boy, whatever, you should really start to look for something else,
A plan B.
plan B. But
Mm-hmm.
but but don't get another job because we don't have time for that. Don't get another
Mm-hmm.
job, but you got to find something else to really start bringing in some income. And a year goes by, you ignore it. 2 years go by, you ignore it. All of a sudden, you decide that you're gonna, start to dabble in a few things, but not fully committing. By the way, you just dabbling. Another year goes by, and you get laid off of work.
Poof.
And in retrospect, you say to yourself, "Well, Dad, gone 2 years ago, if I would have been diligent enough, at least for 10 hours a day, by the time that I would have got laid off, I would have at least had a side income that would replace my full time income. And then me being laid off wouldn't have the same impact or sting."
Mm-hmm.
That's because there is no perfect time.
Nope. Nope.
The reason that you have that indicator in you to do something now is because now is the opportune time. And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. Something told you to do it now
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
No one could have predicted that you were going to lose your job 24 months later. But if you would have started that now, when the 24 months would have came, you would have already been able to replace your income. You would have already been
Mm-hmm.
stable. But the real issue of why you didn't do it right now is because you didn't feel deserving for the end result. If you
Wow.
believed in the end result, you would have chose to become resourceful.
Yeah, but Leland, they're unwilling to give up something to get to get. Okay.
Exactly. Mary didn't know that she was going to have a stroke. She wasn't even in that bad of a situation when she first went to her
Hmm.
physician.
Hmm.
She wasn't even. I mean, 15 pounds. That's nothing, right? High blood pressure, sure, but exercise is the diagnosis. She's like, I can do that. When the diagnosis came, it wasn't that big of a deal. But because she never gave up anything, she never
Hmm.
gave up the time to meet with her trainer. She never gave up the food or the diet. She never gave up anything. When the event finally did come,
Hmm.
she had to settle up on the event. And here's the event for a lot of us. Oh, and by the way, Hank, this is like people. Just so you know, people don't like hearing the truth. Okay,
I know.
all right, because
I
because as
know.
I've been talking about this, hey, look, as I've been talking about this, people have been hopping off, right? But here's the truth. Here's the truth.
It
You've heard.
is. Yes, it does.
Here's the event for many of us. The event is the quote unquote recession.
Still, it's still looming.
It's still looming.
Hmm.
So you know that you should be doing something different.
Hmm.
You've heard that so and so was laid off from FedEx, or that so and so was laid off from Amazon, or that so and so was laid off from Facebook. You've heard something in the back of your mind says to you, maybe I should do something different. Maybe I should have a side hustle. Maybe I should have something different, just as a backup, just in case. Maybe I can work on building something like a Noah's Ark, just so that when the flood does come, I'm safe. My family's taken care of. You know how many people ridiculed and laughed at Noah as he was
Hmm.
building that ark? If someone actually chose to read Genesis and you read the Noah's Ark, the whole thing, Noah built that ark for 10, I think like 100 or something years,
That's it.
hundreds of years building an ark where you're living in an area that wasn't even known to have any type of torrential downpour
That's right. In the desert.
in the desert. Imagine you're building an ark in the desert. Everyone thinks it's crazy until they're drowning.
Mm, mm, mm.
So the question that I have for people is, if people are telling you that a storm is coming, why aren't you building your ark?
Ah, Leland, Leland, people are not willing to make a sacrifice. I've
Not
come
willing
to
to make a
realize.
sacrifice.
And then they don't trust their abilities. They don't trust the process of the system. And I'm not going to get into it today because we're running short of time. But a friend of ours is a realtor. I went to that friend, I've told the story before, and said, listen, wife and I are looking at buying another house. And he said, I'll call you on Tuesday. He didn't call me Tuesday. I called him Thursday. And went into voicemail and I sent him a text. And that was 3 years almost. It was almost 4 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
The point is that as my realtor, he would have made over 10 grand and he didn't have to come looking for me.
right. You called him.
I called him, I begged him, and for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe he didn't think I don't know the reason, but the point is a friend's wife picked up on that deal and they are happier than all get up. So please don't make light of things that are placed in your lap. You think it is too good to be true, or you're making all of these assumptions about people, or about circumstances, or without situations. Listen, clean up your act. That's all. Clean up your act, and you'll be blessed immeasurably.
Absolutely. As we log off real quick, just wanted to say again, if you guys have any questions, you can just put your questions in the chat. We didn't get too many questions today, or any questions today, but in the future, again, all you guys have to do is just put the questions and comments in the chat. We'll answer them live for you guys and interact. But with that being said, thank you for your time, and thank you, Mr. Hunt, for your time as well, sir.
I'm just trying to make a difference. That's all.
And a difference you have made.
Thank you so